Hello, my name is Michael Garrick, and this is PoppinCulture Reviews. My guest today is a great comedian, Ethan Kramermeyer, a very funny comedian. If he's in your city, please go see him. Also, follow his Twitch page and everything else social media at EKG Comedy.
Nope, just EK comedy. Good enough though.
EK Comedy. I truly
Funny that you bring it
apologize.
up, EKG. I actually did a Russell Crowley show once where he put my name on the flyer as Ethan KG. So I guess KG is just like the way to go.
Yeah. But EK Comedy, guys, he's hilarious. Please follow him. And again, if he's in your city, please go check him out. We'll be reviewing season 5 of Rick and Morty. This will be a spoiler review, but before we spoil the season, in total, do you feel like this is something they should go out to watch immediately, or do you think this is something they can just watch from time to time?
For me, I found that the season, I pretty much found the season when they were already like 5 episodes in. And then having to sit and wait for the next episode was so gruesome. Like the ending was also so amazing that I feel like if you're a Rick and Morty fan, you should definitely go check out the season right now.
Nice. I totally agree, 100%. Um, all right, guys, this is be a complete spoiler review. We're gonna start with episode 1. Mort's dinner, Rick Andre.
Yeah, this is the
Uh,
episode with Mr. Nimbus. He's like apparently Rick's nemesis. Like I feel like this whole season just has a really improv-y feel to it almost. What'd you think of this episode?
One of the best. One they started out the gate strong. This episode really felt like Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
Like
this
it,
felt like a return to season one. I also loved the subplot with Morty going in the time thing. Like that was really funny. And then his fucking girlfriend gets locked in there. Like she just comes out. She's like, "I'm a time god," and walks out.
yes. Even that storyline, the fact that they can do those subtle storylines within the big storyline of the episode, because that storyline was even, in my opinion, was better than the storyline that was presented forward. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
it was kind of
just
weird how like they also opened on the whole Jerry and Beth being like sex positive. They watch porn together. Like it was like an awkward moment. Reminded me of The Office a bit. Like,
yeah.
oh, we're sex positive. Okay, Michael.
Yeah. It and just even that joke by itself, they tied every joke together. Like they didn't leave any loose strings when I felt like this episode. And even introducing a new character like Nimbus, he didn't feel like a throwaway character. Like he feels like somebody that's gonna come back in later seasons.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I also thought that it was kind of cool how this episode kind of foreshadows what's going to happen later in the season because in the beginning we see like Rick tell Summer to go on the adventure and Morty just like stays at the house, so it's kind of like Rick is moving on from Morty, just a little bit of that going on right here, which comes back later in the season.
Yes. Also, I didn't notice till I watched it the second time. You notice how they in the earlier season they talked about going to Atlantis. It was like a throwaway joke in one of the previous episodes where it was like, you remember we got that mermaid puss, and then like to see them bring the joke back where Nimbus is like, you had sex with blah blah blah, and just like, oh wow, that's
Oh,
something they didn't.
true. Yeah, that's the episode where we go to the Citadel the first time and we don't see the Rick and Morty adventure. We like watch the Citadel of Morty's or something like that. And then they
Yes,
come back and they're like, they come through the portal, they're like, ooh, crush memory plus. Uh,
yes,
I think that
uh,
was season 3 too. If you want to go back and watch it, really good episode.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and it's
Yeah,
definitely needed for the whole season. If you haven't watched all of Rick and Morty, you probably won't get a lot of the jokes that happen in the season. The season, more than others, feels like it is serialized like that, where there's a lot of callbacks.
yes, and well done callbacks. You can see a callback done in some shows where it's just like, okay, we did it just for you fans. But this one was just, these callbacks felt like, all right, you wanted to know these answers. It's been 8 years. Let's give you the answers and let's, move on,
Yeah.
Um, the last
Also,
thing I
yeah,
wanted,
this does feel like the one show where it's like I'm not mad about a callback. It also feels like I never get what I want from Rick and Morty, but what I get, I want. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that, but what I wanted from the show, they didn't give to me, but I liked what they did more. it's something like the creators of this show are just like so groundbreaking in the way that they approach their animation and their storytelling. It's really
Yes.
nice.
Yes. And the last thing I wanted to say about the side story, you touched on it, with his girlfriend being kidnapped. Just that small thing with wine, that wine side plot, seeing how it evolved, seeing how Jessica had to be kidnapped and now she's like a time god, a side character that was really not used much in the show before, just as side jokes. And to see how like they can pull somebody that small in the show and now she could be like one of the biggest villains or biggest heroes of the show, just shows how powerful their writing is.
Yeah, and then that whole like the whole way that they do the side story with Morty and that how it ends in like a techno future where they get saved by Nimbus, like just a crazy progression. My favorite part of that whole story was when the guy helps Morty carry the wine through the portal and then he comes back and his son like kills him or something. Like it was just so crazy.
Yes. My craziest part of this episode was it, it's just funny. Like it was funny, and I love the fact that they're so serious about episodes and then they're not serious. Is when they're like, Nimbus controls the police. He does what? He controls the
What? No,
police.
he doesn't. I'm calling 911 right now.
Yeah, like why does he control the police? Don't worry about it. If we want to answer that, we can. If not, he controls the police.
Right, that is crazy. You know, maybe maybe they're using that to set up for maybe an episode in the future with Nimbus again. But I could see Nimbus maybe not making a return for a while. He did feel like a good character, but kind of just a way for them to get into the season. I think. I honestly think the bigger thing that happens in this whole episode is that Morty no longer has a love interest in Jessica. Like I feel like we end the episode with basically they're saying goodbye to Jessica.
Yes. Yes. Oh, but Nimbus has come back. There's no way he's not going to come back and be like, I
Oh, you
fucked your
think so? All
daughter.
right, I'm
Oh yeah,
down.
he's definitely going to be like, I fucked your daughter and your son-in-law. Like it's that's a joke that I'm sure they're going to write pretty well. Um, is there anything else you want to say about the first episode?
Nah, I'm ready to go on to the next one.
Okay. The second episode is Mortiplicity. Not the
Yeah,
strongest episode for me.
yeah, a little weird on this episode. It's like the whole Rick made decoy families. I don't know whether the families are decoys or not, and I just thought it was kind of strange because in the end, like the big reveal of the whole episode, spoiler alert, is that it was originally Rick in the ship of the squid that was like trying to destroy all the Ricks. So, this episode kind of leaves me with more questions than I had answers.
Yes, it was one of those episodes where it's Rick and Morty, so you shouldn't question, but it's not a serialized episode either. In which
Yeah.
I could tell they're really like, look, if we're going to be the next Simpsons or Family Guy, we cannot be serialized. Like we got all these episodes from Adult Swim. We got to do this if we want the money. And I really, really think they are going to burn this bridge. I don't think they're really going to bring any of this back up again.
Yeah, I think that this episode was maybe a bit of filler. They just wanted to tackle something funny that they had, maybe in the writer's room. They thought that it was pretty funny that there were all these decoys that end up killing each other.
Yes.
But Rick's killing Ricks and Morty's killing Morty's. That is, a theme throughout the show.
Yes. The first Rick that realizes that that he's a clone, I think that was done well for the episode, though. I think that was one of the few things was just like, oh, this is, oh no, there's more of these. I think that was really well done. And then the Muppet Rick was hilarious.
Yeah. They're in like the cute costumes.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason to explain it. The one's filled with like cotton for no reason. It's just like it just becomes a horror show like throughout the whole thing. And how many streets look like that street? That was the only thing I was thinking through the whole episode.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's like a commentary on just how where they live looks. It's just like everywhere looks the same. Maybe it's about America, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not really quite sure. This whole episode was kind of forgettable for me. There are just so many so many more episodes in the whole season that are like so killer that some of these just flew under the radar for me.
Yeah. Yes. The one thing I would like to talk about though is the end credit scene where the father becomes like a clock, and I guess like Christian religion just like recycles itself again. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I the first time I watched this whole season, I missed a lot of the post credit scenes because HBO Max just or Amazon Prime kept like skipping ahead of them. So I actually think I missed that one, but I'm reading it here on the little Rick and Morty page, and it sounds pretty funny.
Nice, nice. Uh, okay, another page. If you could send me the link on the chat,
Oh
I'll
yeah,
check
I
it.
can send it to you.
Appreciate it. And then we get to the third episode. Was there anything else you would like to say about episode two?
Nah, pretty much skipper for me.
And then we get to the third episode, a Rick convenient Mort. What do you think about this episode?
See, this is why I was so happy in the first episode of the season that they let Jessica die, because in this episode we get to see Morty have another love interest, and I think it's really interesting how he basically like just forgets about Rick for an episode. I thought that was pretty cool. Morty just like has his own story where he's just trying to get with Planetina. And this is an episode where they kind of call back to something that happened earlier in another season, the Purge episode, where Morty has like the aggression hidden inside of him. You remember that? How it's like
Yes.
the end scene in that one is like, oh, now without Purge and all or something like that. And it's like, oh, the big reveal is that Morty was evil all along. In this episode, he goes hog wild. He like murders people. It's crazy.
Yes. Yes. This does have that, like you said, does have that purge, same purge reaction. I loved how they pick fun at oh man, what show were they parroting? I forgot
I think
this
it was
that
Captain Planet.
Captain Planet. They nailed that. I love the way they parody Captain Planet. Have you actually watched Captain Planet before?
Yeah, I used to watch it when I was a kid.
Yeah, like they nailed it. Like, and just to see like those adults probably would be like that. Like they would be
Yeah.
like I don't care about the environment anymore. We trying to make money. Like this.
Who wants a Funko Pop?
Yes.
I think it was really cool though how they kind of show that Morty's not perfect either. Like even when he has a chance to be with someone, like Morty has his own little like subplot where he's like, oh, maybe this person isn't right for me, and then he's like sad at the end. This whole season is filled with like Morty falling in love and me just like almost crying at the end of it when it's all done. I don't think that this is the episode where they do the like whole scene with Morty falling in love, but whenever we get to that episode, it was totally crazy.
Yes. Also, man, Morty been fucking a lot of adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's like reverse pedophilia. It's like when you hear about the kid that made it with his teacher. You know how when you're in high school, you know your boys are like, oh, I wish that she would have got with me. Like I bet you don't. Honestly, I bet it's weird.
Yes, I see these memes a lot about like, oh, teachers don't look the same as when I was growing up. But for me, they don't. I don't remember one sexy teacher. I can't think of one. No, my teachers
high
look
school
like
had
teachers.
all new teachers. We had hella sexy teachers, but we also had a lot of ugly teachers too. You know. You ever just see a teacher and it's like, I understand why you're teaching, you know?
My teachers were undercover lunch ladies. There was no there was no
yeah, your school went through some budget cuts. We had to make some of these teachers work lunch too.
Yes, every teacher I had was like, I only got 2 more years before retirement. But like did you sound like that before you spoke? And wish that was a joke. Yeah, it was wild. But yeah, man, he's been like sleeping with some like well, I don't know why I did that for cartoon pussy, but yeah, he's been sleeping with like some adults throughout the whole show, the whole series.
I mean, I think that Planetina is kind of ambiguous in age for a reason. While she is like much taller than Morty, I don't think that her age ever comes up, or I could be wrong, but yeah, it is cool how he like is getting this adult pussy. Honestly,
yeah,
cool
I was judging
Morty.
by the kids. I was like, if she was an adult with the kids, I'm pretty sure she's still an adult now.
Yeah, I think Captain Planet never aged though. You know, he's like plastic.
Okay, cool. I
Little
don't know why that.
irony there,
I don't know why that's funny. But that's
because he's
hilarious.
Captain Planet and he aged like plastic.
Yes.
Is there any? Are there subplots in this episode? Oh yeah, the subplot is that Rick goes with Summer and they go and they have a bunch of like random sex. The whole season's just filled with like Morty not going with Rick.
Yes. And that subplot is just showing like you can't have too much of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Also shows off Summer's wild side again, you know, like we hear about Summer being all crazy. I think that those dreams from the first season, you remember when they infiltrate the math teacher's dream and Summer's in there being all like kinky or whatever. I think that's sort of coming to fruition in these later seasons.
Yeah, Rick and Morty. I got to say, Rick and Morty has never been scared to talk about sex. So that's one thing. Well, they're not scared to talk about anything. So yeah, that's true.
They even did Israel Palestine one season, right?
Yeah, but I think they called it out too, though. I think they were just like, all right, we'll stop there.
Yeah,
I think Rick broke the fourth wall. I was like, all right, that's as far as we can go with this one. Just to see her become like a super villain, talking about Morty's girlfriend in the episode. Really, did you like that arch that she went through in the episode?
I mean, it makes sense that she was like kept in line by the people who like summoned her, you know, and she like had to do other stuff. She couldn't just be concerned with like the dying planet all the time. Yeah, she just got like really wild. I kind of liked it, but at the same time, it was kind of weird because she did seem so nice at the start of the episode, and then by the end of it, she's just like murdering people, you know.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you littered? And it's just like, oh god, it was just a piece of paper. You could have picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah. The part where she just like sends the miners down the shaft and then it all blows up, like that was crazy too.
Yes.
Like at some point you got to be thinking like that's doing damage to the planet too. Yes. So.
And we definitely know Rick and Morty isn't set in Canada. If you don't know, Canada has like amazing fines for littering.
Oh really? Oh, that's
crazy. Yes, I've been twice, and each time it's like you keep that gum in your mouth, because you do not.
It sounds like Vietnam or something. I can't remember. There's like some country in Southeast Asia where if you spit your gum out on the sidewalk, the police like come up and give you a fine right away.
Yeah, that's Canada.
So now it's happening in Canada too. That's crazy.
Yeah. Super clean though. Super clean. I can't complain. Like clean as I don't know what.
I mean, I think I could handle a little bit of gum on the sidewalk, you know, in exchange for some freedom.
Yes.
You know, anybody else pro freedom? Where my pro freedom chatters at?
Yes. They'll get there. Humbling. Anything else that you got out of this episode?
Not really. I thought they had a lot of funny jokes in this episode. So if you're looking for one that's maybe more on the funnier side, this is a good episode to go with. But it does have some gruesome parts, you know.
Oh yeah, this is
that's pretty much all I got.
It does turn into the boys at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then we go on to the fourth episode, Rick Dependent Spray. It was funny, but it's one of those one-off episodes that I think they're still trying to learn how to get well. Because I mean, it's still like carry on to the next episode, but it wasn't my favorite either.
Yeah, I mean, this episode really kind of is making fun of like teenage boys, you know, because like Morty, he fucks his mom's like horse semen thing. You know, and then the whole episode is basically him not admitting to doing that, and that's what causes everything. So that's pretty funny. It honestly, it reminds me of when I was a kid, you know, without going into too much detail.
Okay. I thought the sperm monsters were animated well. If it's any way to make sperm look like a monster, I thought that was great. It looked like a tremor, like a flying tremor.
Yeah, the sperms did look pretty good. I also thought it was cool how they brought back the president, you know. They had that whole episode before where it's like they're just gonna let bygones be bygones, but in this episode he comes back. I like the
Yeah.
president character in the show. I think he always adds a lot of humor. It's
Yeah,
like,
Keith
yeah.
David is a great voice actor in my opinion. Uh, it's hard to believe that's the same guy that plays Spawn, but yeah, like he has a good range. Um, in Summer, I think she really has an important storyline. Like she they definitely use her more in this season. In my
Yeah, you do
opinion.
get to see a lot more Summer this season. So if you're a fan of Summer, this is definitely the season for you. She does a lot of stuff. She's out on her own a lot. She gets a lot more screen time. I think it's weird how they're like the whole subplot about Beth and Summer though, where it's like you're ready to do all the work but get none of the credit. I don't feel like that trope is necessarily still true anymore, but I get what they're going for with it. So I can't. I'm not really mad about it, but it just felt like a little outdated.
Okay. Um, when they did the whole plot about trying to get the egg launched into space, I love that. Like, no matter how serious it gets or how condensed it gets, this show always remembers that it's sci-fi. I know some shows they'll be sci-fi, but they have episodes where it's just like, okay, we're gonna keep this as realistic as possible, and it's like, no, like you can do almost anything. Um, don't limit yourself.
Yeah, this is definitely like an episode where you remember that this show can go absurd if it wants to, with like how those like the few episodes before this, they're not as crazy as this one, but this one kind of reminds me of like when they're fighting all the sperms. It reminds me of Starship Troopers, that scene where they're like held up at the base and they keep getting attacked by the monsters. um yeah,
Yes,
it also reminds me of Night of the Dead, or what's the Rob Zombie movie? Didn't he, isn't there like some zombie movie where they're
yeah,
just like held up in a mall or something like that?
it's a remake of no, it's a remake of a way better film than that one. Um, I know what you're talking about though.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Living Dead.
That's it, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, not good with movie names or famous people's names, Like
yeah.
I could probably not even, I don't even remember the name of the guy who makes the show right now. That's how bad I am with famous people's names. I gotta know you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Feels
definitely.
weird. When I meet someone famous for the first time, I just want to introduce myself and be like, so what's your name? I want to throw them off guard.
Yes, I saw a video this maybe 2 years ago, but somebody asked who Drake. It was like, hey, I'm so and so. What's your name? And Drake was just like, come, like, bro, really? Like, bro.
That would be me. That would
Yeah,
definitely be me. I'd be like, oh, so you make music? That's cool. What's your stage name? And he's like,
yeah,
it's Drake. I'm like, oh, you're that Drake? Oh,
yes.
I
I
thought you
saw
were the Migos.
one person, the Amigos. That's hilarious. I'm not gonna say name, but I had a comedian friend. I got to witness it firsthand, for like eyesight, like it was crazy. But I got to see him. We both got to meet DL Hughley, and just to see him like go, man, you're really funny. Like, dude, you're gonna have a future. And just to see DL just go like, what the fuck do you like, dude?
Yeah, you ever just, it's the first time you ever seen him at an open mic and you just embarrass yourself. I have also done that.
It was just because he was so sincere, bro. Like if you could have seen it, he was so sincere, just like, bro, you're gonna have a future, man. Like this, you do great job. And just I was just over there, just like, does this man know what this man ain't got a future. Like he has a past and a future. Like this,
Yeah,
he's
that's
done
crazy.
stadiums and he's over here just, man, just keep going. I believe in you. Like a bunch of his fans do too. Shit. Um,
Do you know of Kill Tony, the live podcast where they do like a minute of comedy?
yeah.
One of the regulars that's on it right now, Hans Kim, actually came through to the Monstercade in Winston-Salem like before coronavirus started. And when I first met him, he only had like 1,000 followers, and he was one of those guys where he went up on stage and he just crushed. And I was like, dude, you're definitely gonna make it. And now to see him like actually making it is pretty cool. He's got like, I don't know, I think he went from like 1,000 to like 20K followers in the last 2 months. Man's out
Damn.
here blowing up.
Bro, I'm swear if you get the right person to see you or you go on tour with the right headliner, every fucking thing changes, man. Like
Yeah.
I
Dude,
can't
that's
wait
the
for
thing
the.
about the reps, man. If you just the more reps you get in front of the bigger and bigger crowds, it's just more and more likely that someone will find you.
Yes. And just be ready for when it happens, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
sorry for the side note, guys. We're gonna get right back into episode 5 in a second. But I just started my first room 3 months ago, my first like comedy room, and I have open mic Monday. And a lot of people were just like, bro, you've been doing stand-up for a while. What took you so long to get a room? And I mean this with no offense to other comedians, but I was like, I had to be funny first.
Damn, coming for people's throats right now.
I'm not coming for him. No, I'm talking about me. It's not a diss to other comedians. It's just like I knew me, and there was no reason for me to waste someone's time. But like, let me host the show here, and I'm the unfunny motherfucker in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So,
get that. A lot of people when they first start comedy do see like getting a room as the easiest way to grow, but I think the easiest way to grow is just to go to many rooms, before you have your own. Like when you have your own, that's where you can like once you know kind of what your voice is, or you have a good like 10 minutes that you can go back to if things start to go bad. But having your own room, a little overrated. You got to deal with it all the time. Sometimes people don't show up for the mic. That's been happening to me lately. We do this mic on Wednesdays, and we only had 5 comics, and so everybody did like 10 minutes. It was crazy.
do you feel like it makes your crowd work better? Because what I realize is, as a host, hosting a lot more, like I just mostly, I try new jokes, of course, but like I'm mostly hosting. So I'm just doing crowd work. I'm asking questions. I'm getting the crowd ready. I'm getting them ready for the next comedian. Like I feel like that's one of the best things about when you have a room. It's just like I'm getting these reps as a host that I also can use in my stand up later.
Yeah, the reps as a host, I've definitely learned a lot hosting lately. I've been hosting on Mondays and Wednesdays a lot, and the crowd work definitely. But I also like to just throw in at least like 5 minutes of written material. If it's a 10-minute host spot, I like to probably like start with material, do crowd work, and then end with material to get them like ready for comedy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Sorry about that, guys. We're gonna get right back to
Sorry about
the
nothing. I hope you
season.
enjoy this podcast.
Yes, yes. We get to episode 5. Is there anything else you'd like to say about episode 4 before we continue?
Nah, let's just keep it natural.
All right. It's episode 5, season 5, Rick and Morty is called Morty Can Graffiti. Not gonna lie, I actually like this episode more than I thought I would. The basics is the main plot itself is Jerry. Rick has this, I guess, this deal with these hell spawns, and they get pleasure from cringeness or unfunny stuff, or whatever's the best word for it. They get pleasure off stuff that's not funny or not cool. And Jerry is like the heroin for them. Like he's the drug they really love. And it's just cool to see Rick just be like, this is what you guys like. Fuck.
Yeah. And yeah, they even mentioned during the episode like the demon spawns are like he has such a nuanced flavor. They're just like peeing talking about it. They do kind of treat Jerry like a Michael from The Office, or like if you just watch Shameless, like sometimes it's like so disgusting and shameful that you just turn it off. You ever do that?
Yes.
Like it was like I was overdosing on pain basically.
Yes.
But yeah, then the side plot in this episode, the B plot is Morty and Summer are trying to impress this new kid from town that like just got in, and they take him out in Rick's ship. And it was kind of cool to see Summer get in the ship again. I think there hasn't really been much Summer and ship action ever since that episode. They go inside the battery, so that was pretty cool. I think they have a funny dynamic.
Yes. Did you like the fact that they made the ship a character?
Yeah, it definitely felt like the ship was more of a character, and that's kind of cool. I feel like the AI has definitely grown over the seasons. Like in the very first season, I don't even think the ship necessarily talks. I think that happens in the second season. So it has been cool to see the ship kind of grow into its own character.
Nice, nice. Talking about the B plot for a second. I like how they gave you like a subtle hint at the beginning, when they introduced the new character. So that way at the end it's kind of like, oh, like, a fall from grace. Like he was up here, but now down here. Um,
Yeah, just kind of poking fun at military families with the whole he just moves from town to town and he just looks cool, but on the inside he's not really that cool. Like throughout the whole episode, you basically see his character fall apart up until that final moment where they're just like, yeah, you're really not even that cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude, watching the ship like take over that lady's mind and then the ship just blows up the prison, like that was hilarious too.
Yes. Yes. It just shows like they really have complete freedom. And that's like I said, that's one of the best things about the show that I'm just glad that they really use. Um the pacing on this episode. This is one of the few episodes that I did feel like, okay, I know this is only 26 minutes, but did it feel long to you?
um yeah, this episode does drag a bit. There are some parts that are a little just there's stuff going on, but the stuff going on isn't really that compelling, you know. They're just like driving a ship around, like the ship goes and like to one of those transformer planets or something. Like that whole thing felt a little forced. I guess it was the way of them to like get them locked up. Is that how it happens?
I believe so, yes.
Do they get locked up at the planet where they find out? I think that's what happens. Yeah, the whole episode kind of forgettable. It's this episode a lot like I think it was number 2 for me. They just felt more like just regular Rick and Morty episodes, not really contributing to the overall story. Just like a return to that season 1 feel where every episode is its own episode. I don't know if
Yes.
that makes sense, but
I completely agree, and I think that's the only weak spot about this season. I feel like their one-off episodes just weren't hitting like they usually do.
yeah.
Is there anything else you like to say about episode 5?
No, I think that's it. Actually, one thing, the Beth and Rick them coming together and going to hell was kind of funny. The episode I like the costume Rick had with the marlin in his stomach. That was pretty. I don't know. I just thought it was animated well.
Yes, it was. Um, and then we get to episode 6, Rick and Morty's Thanksgiving Spectacular. This wow, I probably butchered that name, but yeah, that's uh, holiday episodes are still um new to me. This was the holiday episode, and they're still I'm still getting used to them. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good idea. I'll put it like that. It was different. It had like a Nickelodeon feel to it with like the adult presence. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst.
Yeah, this is another one that feels like episode 5 where it's just a return to that Rick and Morty style where it's a little absurd, but you get a lot more of them working together in this episode. I think the whole like turning them into turkeys though, that was a little weird. Not
Yes.
really, you know, not really a pickle Rick, you know, more of just a turkey.
Yes, yes. Like I said, this is definitely like it seems like something you would see on a kids episode, but it's like they said fuck twice, so it's meant for adults.
Yeah, yeah. That's how they get that MA rating right there.
Yes, yes. And then Keith David comes back as the president. So I believe this is the first season where he's came back for multiple episodes, I believe.
Yeah, I think maybe in season 4 he's in 2 episodes, like one of the
Okay.
middle ones and then one of the ending episodes. But I can't remember. Maybe he is only there for 1 episode.
Nice. But yeah, the turkey pardon is like I said, this is a one-off. It's not something
Yeah.
that it didn't. It's really not much to say. Like it's not. I can't really express this episode. Like
It's a
even to be.
Thanksgiving episode. They go turkey, they save the world, blah blah blah, you know.
Yes, it's by the numbers. And then we'll get to episode 7.
Now this is where the season kicks into high gear right here. Okay,
Yes.
episode 7, 8, and 9 are bangers, right?
Yes.
So if you just suffer
And 10.
through, not even suffer, but if you
Yes.
just get through the first 6 episodes and then you get to these ones, you'll be mind blown, honestly.
Yes, I agree 100% with Ethan. Episode 7, 8, 9, and 10. They have this team. Whoever was, I'm pretty sure they all helped with every episode. But the team that made these episodes, they definitely probably been working with Rick and Morty the longest, in my opinion. But episode 7, Gotron, Jerry, man, this is okay. Gotron, Jerry Sis, Rick Van. It sounds like Rick right now.
Rick Van
Gotron.
Jellian, I
Thank you,
think
buddy.
is how you say it.
There we'll go with that. Man, just go back and just like they did with Captain Planet, to go back and get another property that from you know the 80s or 90s, and just the way they did it, like this is perfect. Like this is a great episode. Like this is Rick and Morty really diving into it and like giving the fans something that they knew they would enjoy.
Yeah, in this episode, we see Summer again, like kind of take a more pertinent role than Morty in most of the episode, where she kind of is replacing Morty almost. But I think it's very interesting how, as they start to gather and complete this Gotron into even bigger Gotrons and whatever, that it just like it keeps, it's like a recursive thing where they just get a bigger and bigger and a bigger Gotron. I think it's funny at the end how she actually just gets fired, where he just like goes and gets the original like anime looking people to run the Gotron.
Yes. Do you like the mafia movie style trope that they do?
Yeah, this whole episode was just really good from start to finish for me. They also, this is like a callback to something that happens in an episode, I think it was season 2 maybe, where Morty like gets really confident. They have the toxins episode where he becomes super confident. And in that episode, at the very end of it, when they're like going to rescue Morty and like combine him with his toxins again, they actually use the Gotron, like there's like a Gotron drone or something like that they use.
Yes. The beginning scene when they find the guy in the Gotron, and Rick is just so excited. He's so excited, guys, that he goes from we're going to Boob World, and he's like, forget Boob World, we got a Gotron.
I think Morty even tries to bargain with him by saying this is my adventure, and he holds up the little like Morty stamp thing. He's like, and Rick's just like, nah, screw your adventure, this is gonna be even better.
yes And just to have that voiceover, I'm a big fan of some mafia movies, and the voiceover, they just nailed it, even when they make the joke about it, and then Summer does her voiceover, and they both like argue over who's supposed to do the voiceover. I thought that was a clever idea too.
Yeah, I'm remembering what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So I thought that was really well done.
Just Morty standing there, and then Summer comes into frame and it switches. God, that was so good.
Yes. So, how'd you like the way that they got into the Gotrons?
I mean, you know, I feel like they were trying to tell the Rick, Summer, and Morty story more than it was necessarily like a Gotron story. The Gotrons are kind of like my B plot, where this episode feels like it's more talking about the relationship between Rick and Summer and Morty. You know, the Gotrons are just a way for them to have this plot where Morty becomes less important than Summer, but then he comes back in the end, and then Summer and Morty bond over like getting put in their place by Rick. So
nice. And did the scene when they're in the garage and they're having that mafia style talk with the other Ricks, did you recognize any of the other Ricks, like who they were parodying?
Oh yeah. They had like all the different like Ricks that all were looking for the Gotrons too. As far as recognize them, no, I don't think I recognized any. But did you?
Yeah, I know one guy was supposed to be a parody of Tony Montana. Another one was a parody of a parody of a few. Two of them were parodies of a Goodfella characters. But I just thought that was like, man, they went over and beyond to really capture this parody, and I thought they nailed it.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now on images, and yeah, they definitely nailed it.
Yeah,
the one that looks like Tony Montana really looks like Tony Montana.
Yes,
they all look so badass though, except for the one that's like kind of like a Godfather-esque one. That one I could take it or leave it.
True. And then the callback from an early episode with the giant incest baby.
Oh yeah, they have to go fight the incest baby.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that was one where it really was more Power Ranger ish to me, just because of the music. I thought like they were very close to copyrights, but they just switched it up just enough to be like, let's not get sued.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
nice, nice.
But this
Um,
episode, just like all the other ones, did feel like a classic Rick and Morty episode. But for some reason, something about the way that the animation style and all the things that they end up doing in this episode, it feels like more of that classic style than the other episodes in this whole season, in my opinion. Like of the ones that are just throwaways, like they're just doing it Rick and Morty, this is probably the best straight up Rick and Morty episode.
I agree. And then the monsters, because like I said, they have free range. They can do whatever they want. Even the scenes with them killing monsters, and you can tell in the scenes that the monster is in after you know the ending of the episode. It's like, yeah, these monsters really weren't fighting.
Yeah, they're just picking fights for the point of picking fights. That's what you
Yeah.
get Gotrons for.
Yes, yes. And then see the post credit scene where the monsters weren't even trying to fight. They were just trying to tell them the cure for AIDS. They just didn't know the language.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that's what happens when you have a language barrier, you can't communicate things effectively, and then it
Yeah.
leads to fights.
Yes. Yes. And then we get to episode 8, and guys, they rev up like they rev up this season, and they just never get off gas. This episode, the rest of the season is just straight fire. Rick Turner, friend Shine of the Spotless Mort, of course, is making fun of a movie. Oh man, forgot the name, but it's a great movie that that their name parodies. But this is bringing Bird Person back. In the prior season, Bird Person was transferred into became a cyborg because of almost being killed by his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. Uh, dude, what do you think about seeing Bird Person coming back?
Dude, it was really nice to see Bird Person. I think they did a great job really like tying together the whole Bird Person narrative from all the other episodes too, because there's like that moment where Rick tells Morty that Bird Person's moment was on that fight. I don't remember the exact name of where they fight. And that's like when Bird Person gets married. So to see that scene come back, and then you realize that the big moment for Bird Person was that Rick told him that there are infinite realities and that they could just go like Rick was essentially trying to make Bird Person his Morty, where they're just like hanging out, slaying shit together. But
Yes.
they end up turning it into you see a lot into Bird Person's backstory and everything, and it was really interesting.
How did you like how they played into this being Bird Person's memory? Like they're not in a real place. They're just all of this is based on Bird Person's memory.
I thought that was really cool, honestly. So he does that because he has Bird Person in his garage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then he transfers over to his memories. And the meet young Rick was such to see young Rick play off old Rick I thought that was really clever. And
Yeah, it
still
was cool.
remembering that young Rick is just Bird Person's memory of this guy. It showed that Bird Person had a lot of love for Rick at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole episode really gives you a lot of insight into things that happened in previous seasons, as well as like just a stronger picture of Bird Person. Because my biggest memory of Bird Person, honestly, is when Morty goes to Bird Person. I can't remember whether it's in season 3 or in season 4, but he like goes back in time and sees Bird Person, and he like helps him out, and he sees a picture of Bird Person and Squanchy and Rick all like playing guitar together. So to see them like go back and actually live through some of those cool scenes, like they were shooting at Rick's together in the bar, like that was pretty cool.
Yes. That joke about and that's and I think as a comedian, I think it might have hit us a little bit harder. The joke where he was like, "Oh, I had to watch my friend do stand up. I am in a memory." Like, oh,
I'm a memory, and I had to watch my friend do stand up.
yeah.
It hurt, honestly. I was like, so that's how they feel.
Yes. Like it just it hit like the third wall. I mean the fourth wall. Where it was just like,
Isn't there like also a
oh,
callback joke where they're doing like, oh, are you working on your Type 5 for the Comedy Store or something
yeah,
like that?
yep, yep, yeah,
Yeah, this was a funny episode. And this felt like it was going back to not really the Rick and Morty style, but more of like a serialized style where it's kind of doing a lot more callbacks and working off information you already have. But even if you haven't seen the previous seasons, I feel like you can still enjoy this episode
yes.
just with all the jokes that they pack in, and everything is pretty well explained throughout the whole thing.
Yes, and I love when they dropped a little hint. It was just like well, not little hard, the big hint was just like, oh, you're one of the Ricks that like goes against another family. Like you're one of
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
and you're just like, whoa, wait, this isn't the guy. Like that was yeah,
Yeah. I mean, this is like the rising action in the climax that is the end of the season. You get to
yeah,
see a lot of it's a lot of foreshadowing, like you don't really know all of the things that are about to happen, but they go through a lot of the stuff that is about to happen in this episode where you're just totally oblivious to it. And watching it back the second time, I actually found myself really, really liking all the scenes that they have young Rick and old Rick together and they go through these memories that Bird Person has.
yes, and I love the Blood Ridge segment when they
That's what
because
it was. Yeah, the Battle of Blood Ridge.
yes, yes, um, and then in the end you find out that Tammy and Bird Person had a child, and you could tell Rick did not want to tell this man this.
But I don't understand why he didn't know. It wasn't it inside his own memory.
No, he told him that when they were back in the garage.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
I
I
bel
thought that they found that room inside Bird Person's brain, right?
okay. I may be wrong.
Wasn't
Maybe
it
he
like
did
the
something
locked? Wasn't it just like locked up or something? Like they open it with, I don't know,
that
like
could
Rick breaks into it.
be it. But I thought he told him in the garage. But that may have been it.
Maybe it's something that he didn't even know himself. Like he wasn't there for it, but
Yeah,
he was like, I don't know.
yeah,
Either
yeah.
way, definitely if you're gonna start somewhere, you only have an hour and a half to watch 3 episodes from the whole season. If you start right here on this episode, you will definitely enjoy that hour and a half.
Yes, very much so. And then we get to episode 9, forgetting Cyric Morshall. Play on forgetting Sarah Marshall. A play on that movie. Uh, dude, when I say these next 2 episodes are just like this they're brilliant. They're brilliant, and it shows how smart it was for them to get Marvel, some of the Marvel writers to write for the show. Because this kind of felt like Marvel, like it was parodies, but the way they explained the story seemed very tight, like something Marvel would have wrote. Someone writing for Marvel would write. Um, so, what did you think of this episode?
uh Again, it's one of those episodes where we see the dark side of Morty at some point. I'm not gonna necessarily spoil the ending right now, but we get to see the dark side of Morty. We get to see Rick with his little wheel that he spins and he's like, I can replace you with anything, Morty. I think for me the high point of this episode was when the crows turn into the stronger crows, but then they turn back into crows just to like hang out with Rick. Like that was really cool.
Yes. My one of my favorite parts of the episode is really just the guy that when he goes to prison and breaks him out, it's just like, yeah, something's not right with this guy. Like this isn't adding up. Like they drew him a little crazy. So when becomes crazy, it's like, yeah, this guy's had a portal in his arm this whole time. He has to be a little loony.
Right, he you ruined my garbage chute.
Yes.
I wonder where all that garbage went, because it had to go somewhere before that.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe it was one of those planets that we saw in a past episode where
yeah.
there's like garbage pouring out of one of the portals.
Well, the good thing about Rick and Morty, if they want to explain it, they would definitely go back and explain it.
Yeah.
Uh,
The honestly, I'm just gonna get to the hand of the matter. Rick and Morty, they always surprise me. They always find a new way to surprise me. And watching Morty chop off his own hand to separate himself from this guy, brutal, just absolutely brutal. I was just shocked. Honestly, when I saw it, I was honestly shocked by it. This is no season 1 Morty. That's all I have to say. This is no awkward Morty grabbing his principal's boobs in his class. This is a badass Morty.
Yes, it was very much, it had like that Adventure Time, Star Wars feel to it. Because when I saw his arm cut off, I'm like, the easy resolve is Rick can just give him another arm, which is what they did. But Rick and Morty is so crazy that I was like, does he get another arm? Does he get a fin? How's it? What are they
Right.
gonna do? Like,
It would be funny if they just played up the Star Wars reference and gave him like a robotic hand, but they actually just like grow back his hand or something.
yeah, I can only imagine one of the animators being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like, we need this to go back to where it was. We're not.
Dude, and that scene where Morty like cauterizes his own wound by putting it in the jetpack, like, dude, I can't handle Morty, man. Morty's too crazy.
Yeah, Morty's like, I've seen some shit, and yes, definitely. Um,
But what do you think of the crows? Like that's the
yeah,
other thing in this whole episode is the whole crows plot.
the thing that gets me with the crows was it's on the wheel. I still think that's the funniest thing. Like, it's on the wheel. Like,
Just two
it was
crows.
like this is something that, like, these crows, who God knows how long those crows have been there, but just like, all right, let's see what we get. And you get two crows. You don't even know how powerful these crows are before. So you're just looking like, how do they make this work? And then it works. Like, it works. And that's just,
It 100% works, dude. And Rick dressing up as a scarecrow to draw them in. Yeah.
yes.
Dude, the powerful crows though, I want to see those people come back. I don't know if that's even possible, but I loved the whole crow thing. And then they go to the egg and they become big and powerful. They look like Dragon Ball Z characters, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that the joke?
Yes. And then the crows come back to the garage, and the crows are like, what? We're on the spinning wheel? Are you telling me we're just here because you spin on our name? Like, it's
Yeah.
just hilarious. It's just like, just seeing how smart they are and being like, whoa, wait. So this is just, it, it's just a great episode. And then at the end, they had a new character named Garbage Gubbler, and you find out the guy's a doctor. Like, just even the throwaway jokes in this episode were great.
Yeah,
And
they really layer it on in this one.
yes, are you a fan of Kenan and Kel by chance?
Yeah, I've seen their sketch show.
Kenan and Kel did something similar to what they do with episode 9 and 10. Kenan and Kel had an episode where literally Kenan went to live in Nebraska, somewhere in the mountains, and they made it so dramatic, like they weren't gonna get back together. Next episode, of course, Kel ends up in Nebraska and they get back together. I thought this was done pretty much the same way where they went their separate ways, but you're like, the name of the show is Rick and Morty.
Yeah, the way that it ends with them with like Morty like crying as Rick packs up his stuff to go with the crows on it was good. Rick helps him get his hand back and then he's like, I think I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But this whole season has been them not being together. So like this whole thing was just leading up to them actually splitting up.
Yes.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this episode. I'm really excited to talk about number 10. So
Yes, me too. Before we get to episode 10, because that's, like I said, that was the best ending ever of all the episodes of every season. I think this was the best ending. Do you like the fact that they kept the portal fluids like still like, okay, we don't need to explain this? Did you still? I thought that was very smart on their half.
Yeah, they
'Cause
save all the big reveals for episode 10.
Yes. And then we get the episode 10, Rick Mirai Jack.
And it really, honestly, when I first heard that they were going to release these episodes on the same night, I was like, oh, why are you going to do that? Why don't you just keep with the episodic feel of like every week? I understand why they released both these episodes on the same night. No way they would have gotten away with doing it 1 week at a time.
Yeah. Yes, they saw how their fans acted with what was the McDonald's sauce?
The Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, they saw how their fans acted with the Szechuan sauce. They were like, no, drop these together. We don't need them at our office. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And they do another really cool like anime throwback with the like they reference almost the Go Trunks or whatever it was. The
Yes.
Go Tanks. I don't even remember the name of the thing they make, the ferret.
Yes. Yes.
But I like the way that they draw the anime style in the show. They do a great job of that.
Yes. Even they had the Street Fighter cheetah in this episode. I thought that was well done too.
Yeah.
But Rick Mirai Jack is a play on Samurai Jack, a great anime that was also on Adult Swim at one point. Um, dude, the way they set up the beginning of this episode is just like just spot on. It's like as soon as I saw it, I just started smiling. I was like, this is a good art style.
Yeah, they parody I think it's Avatar the Last Airbender in the opening scene.
Yeah.
And then they just keep going through different animes until old Morty shows up, but we find out it's not really old Morty. It's like Morty, but he aged himself somehow using something in the garage.
Yes. Yes, and it's such a subtle play on how to get back to the Citadel, which is just like, okay, that one small thing that needed to happen also made it easier for this to happen. So I really like the way they connected the dots on that. How'd you like Rick's reaction when he found out like the crows were going back to their original master?
Oh yeah, he's like don't they like pleasure each other or something like that? I can't remember if they're
I,
like
I've
having like if they're doing something weird, but I feel like they go back in and the guy's like so excited to see him again and they like start insinuating that they're getting busy in there.
yes, like Rick is fake sleeping. They fly out the window and he just opens his eyes and he's just like, oh stop, Rick is about to go figure out what's been going on, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of it's interesting. It's like, most time Rick is the one who abandons things, but in this episode it's really the crows who are like, we kind of don't want to do this anymore.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, Rick comes back. Morty comes back and just tries to get Rick back, acting like, "Oh, it's out of nowhere," blah blah blah. And then one of the like coldest jokes of the show, which this show's had a lot of cold jokes. But when he says, "You know, Dad got cancer, you would have loved it," it's just
Oh
like
yeah.
it's just like whoa, like this is one of the few shows where that just flies. Like that's part of the story. Like that makes sense.
Yeah, that's just Rick and Morty right there. They're not afraid to say something that other shows can't say.
Yes, yes, and it's on brand. Yeah, he would have loved finding that out. Um, but Rick comes back, and then Morty's like, "Hey, you gotta get me back young," and that's what gets them to the Citadel. Did you like the joke where they make Morty young by separating him and putting him back together?
Oh yeah, what do you want to do with this older Morty? And he's like, cool. I like that in the show, they like give you glimpses of what could happen in the future sometimes. Like it felt like one of those times where it's like, oh look, Morty might actually grow up to be cool, but then he dies instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely shows throughout this whole show that like Morty apparently does get that tattoo. I can't make out what the tattoo was, but every time they show him older, he has like this big tattoo on his arm. So
Yeah, and then
uh,
also it's like a callback to the toxins thing where it's easier to separate than it is to go back almost. I don't know
yeah,
if that's like an overarching theme to the show, but they often do use a simpler method of just like separating out the parts than they do actually dealing with the issue.
I know the creator and also the voice actor for Rick and Morty. He did say that his divorce really like influenced the show more now. Where he's like, divorce changes you, and as a divorced person myself, it in some ways it does. And then we see evil Morty, and Rick already knows he's evil. Like Rick already knows about this guy, and it you just like it's like Rick just so nonchalant, like, okay, he wants to meet the evil guy. All right. Like this,
Yeah. He's like he already knows what's about to happen. It's like he can see what's going on. I think the whole like how we get to see their entire backstory throughout the course of this episode, really well done.
yes,
Like all the flashback scenes and all the parts that we get to learn about the universe that is Rick and Morty. They just do such an amazing job just layering on the details and explaining out all those plot points that they left unexplained before.
Yes, yes. Even explaining why the central finite curve is important, because they bring it up the first time they go to the Sentinel, but they don't explain why it's a thing. So in this episode, like when they explain, like, no, this is why Rick is the smartest person in this universe. He made it that way. Like he made sure it was no competition, you know.
Yeah,
And
what sort of evils could lie outside the central finite curve? I think that they just did such a great job of setting up the next season. Like every time a Rick and Morty season ends, it feels like it ends too early. But in
yes,
this one, they set up for an amazing season 6, the way it ends, where the Morty, he like leaves and it's a yellow portal. What's going on with the yellow portal, Michael?
yes, and definitely a good idea to change the color. Like that was like whoever sat down was like, no, this can't be the same color. We need to distinguish that this is a new adventure. Did that really, really well. I love the part where Rick is like, "Do you want to know my backstory? You don't need to know my backstory." And then he has the thing in his hand, and Morty just grabs for it immediately, like, "No, we need to know." And at that moment, I felt like they were doing that for the fans. Be like, "Okay, you guys wanted to know. It's been 8 years. Here you go."
Yeah,
And
they're like in the middle of escaping, and it really does feel like it is for the fans. He just like shoves it in his neck and wants to know immediately.
yes. And I remember reading one theory about you can't there's no way that Rick could like make up a memory. So to know that that memory was true even back when he was like being like interviewed or investigated or whatever, and when he was in prison, I do think that was great to say like, oh, this happened, but he's still the smartest man in the world. Like he still can control his memories and blah blah blah. But
Yeah, it makes
yeah,
sense why Rick was never really that hyped on the Citadel, because he helped make it, because he was just hunting down other Ricks, like
yes.
this is just a place for them to gather. And then it's even just a callback to how the show opens, where they end up going to I guess maybe it's in the opening. I can't remember. Is that season 1 where they go to the Citadel for the first time and he gets like confronted and they trace his
Yeah,
portal gun?
yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's the very first episode. So yeah, to see them come back to that and even wrap up that plot from like the first episode here in the 10th episode of season 5 was just really cool.
yes, I know, and I really can't wait till they like do the episode where he actually does kill the Rick that killed his family. Like that is probably gonna be one of the
Yeah.
most brutal episodes because there's no way they're gonna make it look. I mean, because even this episode he kills a bunch of Ricks, but it's not the Rick that killed his family.
Do you
Yeah.
think that the Rick that killed his family is outside the central finite curve?
I mean, it's one of those things that would make sense just because at this point, I'm sure Rick would have did anything to like he could have killed him at this point. Like it's like this is it's not that person doesn't just fall off your hit list.
Yeah, I mean, if Rick could separate, his realities into of the infinite realities, make a set that is just the ones where he's the smartest person in the universe, what stops that from also being a subset where that Rick doesn't exist?
Yes. What did you think about them showing how they breed Mortys?
It was kind of creepy, but also, it kind of ties together everything about how Jerry and Beth kind of meet. Sorry, can you hear my cat in the mic?
A little bit, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, it just kind of like ties together everything, and it is kind of crazy to think that instead of just making Mortys, they just put Rick's or not Rick's, Jerry's and Beth's together through like secretive methods.
Yes. Yes. And then of course they blow up the Sandal. Like we said earlier, evil Morty gets away, which it didn't even seem like he cared at all about Rick. When you like from earlier in the previous season, where it's like he's really torturing this Rick, and then to this and being like, it was never really about you. You were just a way to get in.
Right. That's just like being self-aware and wanting to escape your own surroundings. Like maybe this is Justin Roiland's way of saying like, moving on from these safe possibilities is okay, because we were just talking about how separation is a theme throughout the show. And now this Morty is kind of like separating himself from Rick and he has to escape the path that he's been put on and go to these multiple new universes where Rick is not the smartest.
Yeah. Which I'm really can't wait to see how that plays out. That because Rick and Morty can go through that portal and just be killed instantly. You don't know what happens with Rick and Morty.
That's probably what will happen. He'll just like go through the portal and get murdered.
Yeah, it would be on brand. The post credit scene. Did you see it?
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Poopy Butthole, and he doesn't have his job anymore because he made him do the ninja stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It really, it felt like a downer ending, but then it made sense. Like it was just like what, because that's how they end every season. Just like what is Mr. Poopy Butthole doing? And it's just like guy's divorced. He's pondering life. He doesn't look happy. Unlike last season where like, oh, he was upbeat, had a great story arc, had a kid, and it just shows how quick life can change. So out of the 5 seasons of Rick and Morty, where do you put this one?
Second best season. In my opinion, it's second best. What about you?
I would put it as a top. It's a top of 2. It's just that I really, really like the first one is always gonna be number 1 because the first one they hit the ground running. Like all those episodes I can binge watch. And then this one's top for 2 because season 2 and this season I feel like I take that back. I give this number 3. I give season 2 number 2. And I'll make this number 3. Cool. Because the first 2 seasons honestly, were hardcore.
As good as those first 2 seasons are, I like how their animation style developed more in season 3, 4, and 5. Like I feel like everything looks a lot better. Not like that they did a bad job in the first 2 seasons with the animation, but I feel like it was definitely more of a cartoon, and now it's just a lot cleaner and there's a lot more like subtleties in the art that they use. And for me, I gotta say, season 4 takes the number 1 slot. Yeah, I think that season 4 is just amazing, like start to finish, just really, really good.
Yes, I would agree. I guess I just like the philosophy bullshit in the first 2 seasons. Just being real with you, I'm just really into philosophy, and they've really tackled philosophy very well in the first 2 seasons. So,
yeah, in those first 2 seasons, Rick also breaks the fourth wall a lot, which is really funny.
Yes. Yeah, he has stopped doing that a little bit. I mean, he still does it, but he stopped a little bit. Not as hardcore as he did in the first season, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to say about season 5 of Rick and Morty?
Yeah, go watch it right now if you haven't seen it. Even if you got all these spoilers, the spoilers don't matter. It's a great season start to finish. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, you will love this season. And even if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, you'll probably still love the season. The writers are really smart and they do a great job with everything that pertains to making a great animated show.
Yes, sir. Ethan, thank you again for coming on PoppinCulture to review this season. I truly appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and have an amazing day.